Shark Damon John here, and I want to congratulate the entire YOLO team for winning your 27th International Award and the new distribution opportunities, including Empire Distributors, a Berkshire Hathaway company, and Why Is All the Rum Gone? YOLO, baby. Congratulations to everyone from the Shark Damon John here.
YOLO podcast. Again, we're not the Yolo Rum podcast, but this is a time when we need to talk about Yolo Rum and the history of Yolo Rum. And I'm not going to introduce this person, but this podcast is going to be a great one because it's a story of Rum Love. And so Phil, the founder of Yolo Rum, Uncle Phil, as the investors know him, introduce our guest today.
We are very honored to have my lovely and beautiful wife, Jessica, with us. She's one of the founders of Yolo Rum. If it wasn't for Jessica, we would not have Yolo Rum. She's the one that actually put together our production deal. She's the one that found Don Pancho for us. And she's the one that takes care of all of those logistics behind the scenes. And if it wasn't for Jessica, we would not have Yolo Rum. So we're truly honored to have her here today. We don't always see her, but she's extremely active. And she's also extremely supportive of Yolo Rum and all of our endeavors. And when we're traveling and doing things, Jessica's holding it down for us here. So it is truly an honor to have her here today.
Hello.
Welcome,
everybody.
Jessica.
Hi. Thank you.
So let's. It's a Rum Love story, and it leads to how Yolo Rum came to be. But let's talk about you two and how you met, because that in and of itself is an amazing story. How did you two meet?
We met in Antigua, Guatemala, which is an amazing place with amazing energy. Very romantic. There's two volcanoes there, an active volcano, Fuego. You can see the lava flowing off of the volcano at night. And I was there doing some nonprofit work with an organization called Cooperative for Education. It's still an organization that we're extremely involved in, and there's a lot of love in that organization. It's actually distributes school books to rural school children, to basically the vulnerable indigenous people of Guatemala. And Jessica was on vacation. This was 12 years ago. And I was there. We met at a nightclub. The rest was history.
So did he approach you, Jessica? How did that? You see him at the nightclub. You're on vacation. How did that conversation start?
When I was with some friends, and Phil started talking with one of my friends first, and then she came to invite me to the conversation. So I went, and then I met Phil, and we started talking, and we exchanged phone numbers. And we had a second date.
While you're on vacation, and I mean, you weren't expecting to fall in love, right? I mean, like,
No.
even that, would you even have considered that a second date? Because that was probably just like, hey, we're on vacation, we're all hanging out.
Well, I never thought he would call me back. So I gave him my phone, and I gave him the real number.
Real number, yeah.
And, yeah, he called. It was a surprise, actually.
I called her that week. I remember we had gone to this small village that you could only get to by boat on Lake Atitlan, and I was walking down a trail, and I borrowed somebody's phone from Guatemala to call her to see if she was going to be in Guatemala City. So we met at Guatemala City at one of our favorite restaurants, even still today, Tre Fratelli. And we had a fantastic date. We went out dancing afterward, and then I went to El Salvador 3 weeks later to visit her. And
so you came back to the States and we're having conversation over the phone?
Through Skype. Thank goodness
okay.
for Skype
Yeah.
at that time. It was amazing, and now everybody just takes it for granted. But back then we could talk for free, and it was video talk. So over those 3 weeks, we spent a lot of time together. We spent dozens and dozens of hours talking to each other and getting to know each other.
Was there a language barrier?
Not
really. He knew a little bit of Spanish. I knew a little bit of English, and we were talking Spanglish.
Okay, finishing each other's sentences.
Exactly.
Yeah. Meant to be.
Yes, it was. I didn't know. I knew a little bit of Spanish. I grew up with some Spanish in my house. My grandfather only spoke Spanish, so I knew words, and we put it together. She knew some English. Also, she knew a lot of grammatical English. She's like a dictionary when it comes to her vocabulary, but in terms of pronunciation, that really that was the challenge. And but we we communicated just fine. I don't think there was ever a point. I mean, there still is a time, even when you speak the same language, you have problems communicating. So I think we did pretty well though, patching it together with our Spanglish.
So Jessica, Phil and I have a guilty pleasure, and you have one as well. You guys actually came to our wedding, so Kayla has this guilty pleasure. My wife, 90 Day Fiance.
90 Day Fiance.
The reality show. Okay.
Yeah, the show.
But it didn't dawn on me until Phil said it that you guys like that show because that was you guys. So you went through that whole thing and explained 90 days for people that don't know what that means, and then 90 Day Fiance.
Well, so after we dated for a long time,
3 years.
for 3 years, I asked Jessica to marry me, and so we had committed to each other, and we knew that we were going to be with each other, and we had made that decision. And since she was from El Salvador and I was from the United States, we thought it was best that she come to the United States, and I was established. I had my businesses, so we applied for our K-1 visa. And when you apply for a K-1 visa, it takes a long time, and actually ours took about 18 months to process. And
so you were just waiting in that time, and
you just wait for the paperwork to go through.
and so you guys are just still Skyping, and you're taking trips out there?
Taking trips out there, traveling, doing different things. And basically, once you get your notification of the K-1 visa, you have 90 days to get married. So it's kind of it's a strange situation because you're rushed into that by the government, and there's all kinds of restrictions that they put on it. We couldn't get married in El Salvador. We couldn't be married in a church. We couldn't be married. There was all kinds of restrictions. We had to be married basically by a justice of the peace here in the United States, and then we could have a religious ceremony after that. But if you don't follow the guidelines, they penalize you, and if they penalize you, it can really hold the process up for a long time.
That's a big commitment, Jessica.
It was, but I was pretty lucky because I hold a tourist visa by that time. So I was able to come every time that I could to visit Phil and meet his family and his dogs and everybody before, we made the commitment.
Yeah, before you moved here, you had visited a dozen times. How many times had you been up to visit at that time?
Yeah, I don't know, probably 12 times, 15. I don't know.
You guys at that point you guys
times.
knew you were.
Yes, we had.
It wasn't like
spent a lot of
the
time
90 Day
together.
Fiance where like I knew them for a week and then I decided.
I'm always
that's
amazed at
different.
those situations because those people, they spend very little time together, and they make such a gigantic commitment. And there is a big commitment going through the process, and then having family overseas and then accommodating all of those situations. In that program, I don't think people are very established. And I think that the more established you are, the better off the situation is and the healthier the relationship would be. I think any young relationship is hard, but especially compounded with government red tape, it does not make it easy.
Well, and so now, were you guys equally impressed by the other one's professional career? Because, I mean, you coming out here, you're seeing Phil and how as being an entrepreneur, and then you yourself were quite accomplished. I think we should go into that a little bit. But, I mean, at what point were you guys, were you guys just impressed with each other? Because each of you have such a crazy story.
I was impressed with Jessica. I was really, at the time I met her, she was with Pfizer, and she had an amazing position there. That's how she actually had her U.S. visa, was to come to work. But she had a lot of respectable positions. She had really worked her way up the corporate ladder. So I was extremely impressed with Jessica in general.
Yeah, I was impressed with Phil too. I'm his fan number one.
Thank you.
His number one fan.
Yeah. And of course, he is a hard work man, and I knew that. And it's amazing what he was doing by that time. I was impressed because I saw his work every time I visit him.
Yeah, and it's always something different or a new project or something.
Yes,
some
exactly.
big
always
idea.
Busy, always working.
But then, but you're quite accomplished too. I mean, your background in and of itself. I mean, because where were you from originally, and then kind of tell that background of the story and introduce that to the audience.
Well, I'm from El Salvador. I have a business administration degree, and also I had a master degree in marketing from the University of Barcelona in Spain. I work mostly with pharmaceuticals in marketing, sales and marketing. That is my background.
Yeah, but that's a big deal. Like, I mean, I'm like 6 credits away from my bachelor's. You know, I mean, you're over here with your master's degree and working at Pfizer, and so that marketing sense, and Phil's a marketer. At what point were you guys, hey, let's start a rum? Did you guys talk about that? How did that transpire? Was that just an idea you had, Phil, or what happened?
It was from going down to Central America, and it's no secret that I like to drink. I'm not bragging, but I was drinking whiskey, and I would go to Central America and I would try to order whiskey, and there's just not a whole lot of whiskey down there, and people would always be like, "You got to try the rum. You got to try the rum." And I tried some rums in Central America that blew my mind. I didn't know that rum was so delicious, so I kind of set out on a mission to introduce delicious rum to everybody in the United States, because I really felt like nobody really understood how good rum really is. And I asked Jessica to help me with the project. I tried. I went down a path and I was unsuccessful. Actually, the company that we approached said I think they took a bunch of ideas from us, honestly. And they said they didn't want to work with me because I was not an industry insider. And so I asked Jessica to help me. And so Jessica's the one that found our distillery and Don Pancho and the amazing company that we actually work with now.
Did you know them, or how did you discover them?
Well, I knew about them because it's a big company in Central America. They have a base in Nicaragua, and they are in every country down there. So I knew about them. And yeah, I started making calls, and with email and the right people that I had to contact, and we made a deal.
So you guys are the perfect pair, the perfect couple to, especially as a married couple and as business partners.
Power couple for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. We need to come up with a name for you guys. You know what I mean?
It's called When Alphas Attract, and it's not a pretty thing.
The name Yolo, did you come up with that together, or how did that process work? I guess after you discovered Don Pancho, what was the next step?
So I already had the name in mind. A guy that I know had approached me, and he wanted to do some sunglasses or maybe some watches. And in my mind, I was like, I really feel like that name belongs on rum. I felt like YOLO just as a word. I think YOLO's a pretty word, just YOLO. And there's a lot of other alcohols, wines that kind of flow that same way. And the you only live once part of that, I really just felt like it really belonged on the rum that I already wanted to introduce everybody in the United States to. So putting those together was easy in my mind, because I was already geared in both those directions, but kind of took two pieces of separate things and put them together.
And then, Jessica, you at this time, you're still talking to Don Pancho, and you guys just decided to go out there, scheduled a trip to go out there, and then what takes place when you go out there? Because Don Pancho's real receptive of you. He loves you, Jessica. And so for me, I just see that. I've seen that at awards when we've gone to Florida and all those things. And he embraces everyone because he's a star, celebrity, if you will, in his own right, and especially in that industry. But everyone tries to come up to him. And he says hello, and he's friendly. But when he sees you, he stops. He'll have the greatest conversation. It's almost as if he sees you as like a family.
Well, he is a very nice gentleman, and he definitely helped us a lot. I think he saw that we were serious about the rum and know that we weren't joking when we were down there, because some people just go and think, oh, I want this, but when they see the work and the investment, so they just decide don't do anything. But he saw that we were serious, and I think that is what he wanted to help us. And he saw that we're professionals about what we do, and I think that was the thing. We gained his respect, and we respect him a lot too.
And there had to be a huge respect there, because I mean he did give you one of, I mean, it's the best rum in the world. We like to say that, but it really is an amazing rum. And for him to just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to give you this recipe, that speaks volumes about yourself and both of you.
Yes, he told us specifically that the Yolo Rum Gold should be the standard that all rum is held to. And with the 27 international awards that both rums have garnered, he spoke the truth. It is a delicious rum, and it's an honor and a privilege to know him. And from his early roots in Cuba all the way to being basically the minister of rum in Cuba, and now doing his thing in Panama. Yes, we're extremely honored to know Don Pancho. And everything in Central America is very family oriented. So when you said that he really kind of looks at Jessica more like family than business, a lot of business in Central America is family oriented. It's familiar. And so
so it's amazing to have that type of relationship.
It's amazing to have that relationship, and that's how business is done down there, which is different than the United States.
So now you guys just got back from Guatemala, right? Because you met out there, but you're still going out there. I would love to hear. I saw, and we could probably throw it up now, a little video of Jessica speaking to them, the audience. But let's dive into that, where you guys got back from and what you guys are a part of.
We went out with a Cooperative for Education, and it was nice because we were out there, and to the day, our 12th year anniversary of the day that we met, we were in the exact same place. We took a selfie.
Wait, was that planned? Was that planned?
No, it wasn't actually.
Wow.
No, it was just coincidence.
Wow.
So,
and you took a picture. Sorry, you took a picture in the front door of
the Casbah.
Of the Casbah, the club
where
that you
we
guys
met.
met.
We went out to we have scholarship students, and through our other business, and which is mixed up. Our employees do a fantastic job supporting scholarship students, but between our employees and Jessica and I personally, we have 10 scholarship students that we're helping them and their families get through high school, which is imperative in Central America for their success in life. And it breaks the cycle of poverty. And here in the United States, we take a high school education for granted, but down there, you really can make professional moves and get really good jobs with a high school education. So we went down to meet and encourage our scholarship students. We have a couple of students that are graduating in December, and that's a true honor because they've struggled on their journeys, and they truly are an inspiration to us. And then we also were out there supporting, it's called a Spark reading program, where they go out to schools and distribute school books and actually train teachers on how to teach reading and get these little kids ready for their academic career. And it really is changing the entire dynamics of entire communities. And it was great to go out there and be a part of that and celebrate that with
the video you gave or that you showed me, I shouldn't say you gave me, that you showed me, Jessica, you were on stage and you actually talked to the audience. It was who was that panel that you spoke? Because Phil had to translate for me though, but when he was translating, I was like, oh my God, I was like, you just held your own. What was that panel, and what did you tell that audience?
Well, we were 5 women that have succeeded through our education. That was the point, and we were trying to tell the students how important is education for everybody, especially down there in Guatemala and other Central American countries. it's a challenge for these kids to finish high school, and it's even more difficult to continue superior education. So we were trying to encourage them to keep going and don't give up, just with a message that what can you do with your life and everything that is become easier if you get an education, actually.
If you're allowed to have an education, or you provided that, and which is what you guys are doing. So that's just amazing. Were you, Phil? Were you just like a proud husband? I mean, were you just like watching her give that speech? Because she name dropped that she owned a rum company, and everyone there was like, oh.
Yeah, I know. Everybody was quite impressed with that. It is impressive. She holds her own. It's not the first time that I've seen her take command of a situation. One of the first times was definitely for her wedding. She went to El Salvador and she had her iPad, and I think they thought she was an alien from outer space, the way that she was navigating and showing exactly what she wanted. But I've seen her present herself before in a business setting. She actually was co-hosted a radio program in El Salvador, so I had seen her do interviews. I had seen her and heard her on the radio, and I had also seen her in a business setting when we were doing these rum deals and just taking care of business. So while I was very, very proud of her, it's something that she's fully capable of, and I wasn't surprised of it, but I was extremely proud. And the message that she delivered was on point, well received, and she really understood her audience, and she has a unique perspective. So I was extremely proud of her.
Well, thank you.
Well, I think it goes without saying that this is a true story of love, and Yolo Rum Love. It wouldn't have happened without you two, and so it's cool to hear that story. Just as someone who knows the bits and pieces of it, to have it all come together and hear that, it's truly amazing. I think it's no coincidence that you guys were out there on that 12-year mark. That's pretty amazing in and of itself. But Jessica, I think Phil is dead on. We would not be where we're at as a company without you. So I think that there is a lot of you're like the Alfred in like Phil's out there in the street, the Dark Knight, but you're there being like, hey, I'm taking care of the business that needs to get done. So thank you for that. I think it's amazing where we're going, and I think the story of you two is amazing, and just excited to keep talking to you and see what happens next with Yolo Rum. And Gabriella's here, the future heir of Yolo Rum Empire. A spin image of both of you.
Come in here and say hi.
Hi. Hi.
This is Gabriela.
So what did you say? Familiar?
Yeah, that's like family oriented.
Yeah, we really are. Yolo Rum is that through and through.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Kayla supports you and all your trips at the last moment.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You
Our never-ending tastings.
Never-ending tastings, and then really how she brought her family in to really support us, and we always see the Ramirez's whenever we have an event. They're always there, and they represent, and they're representing strong and looking out for our best interests. And we really appreciate all of the family support that we get. And we couldn't be the men that we are without our families.
Not at all. Oh my God. They get you through it. They get you through it, definitely.
Absolutely.
So, Jessica, thank you for coming on. We got to make you on here all the time, just because you are part of this journey with us. So we always sign off with one way, and we'll sign off right now, and that's just a big YOLO.
YOLO.